Greetings and much love to each and every one of you at any place that you are at this moment. And I hope that you're making the best out of any situation that you're in. Sometimes situations get harder before they get easier. Sometimes they're easy enough and we don't appreciate it. At the end, it is up to each one of us how to create a place that we're comfortable, stimulated, and safe. This is the message of our today's conversation, which is about our environmental flow. As you know, each time we're talking about different aspects of life and how flow, or this magical energy inside of us that needs to be in equilibrium, it needs to be in balance, is considered, and how in each area we have the responsibility of paying attention to all of the details of what happens to us, and according to that we can manage our well-being. Well, we're just like the captain of a ship, right? We sit on the helm of a ship and we have the wheel in our hands, and according to the directions of the wave, according to the speed that we're going, according to the weight of the vessel that we're in, according to a lot of different conditions, we're responsible to manage this flow over the water. And we are mostly made out of water. Also, interesting enough, most of our body is water. So managing ourselves in the environment that we're in is really managing our body, our mind, our emotions. Pretty much everything that's around us, everything that's surrounding us has something to do with the degree of our environmental flow, or in other words, how we feel safe, how we feel comfortable, and how we feel stimulated. So these are the three components that I would like to repeatedly go over with and discuss in details why these three elements, again, our comfort, our safety, and our stimulation are important. I want to give you a very short exercise. If you're not driving, I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath from your nose into your belly. Take another deep breath, just close your eyes. And I want you to imagine yourself on a busy street, walking down the sidewalk. So many people are coming and going. The traffic is crazy. You hear the honk of the cars. You hear the crowd talking and there is noise. You even smell the exhaust of some of these cars. And the shade of the buildings are covering the sidewalk. As you're walking along this path, just notice your feelings. Just notice what's coming up for you. Take a deep breath now and let everything go. Take another deep breath. And this time, just see yourself in a meadow, a beautiful meadow filled with little flowers, daisies. And this meadow ends into a forest, luscious green trees at the end of this meadow. There is a light breeze going through this meadow. The air is fresh. The sun is not too hot, not too warm, not too cold, just enjoyable. And you're walking on this meadow, hearing the chirping of the birds and smelling the fragrances of nature around you. Notice what you're feeling now. Notice the difference or differences between this feeling And the last feeling. Open up your eyes and come back and let's continue together. The reason I gave you this exercise was to understand how different environments create different feelings. I'm pretty sure that you didn't have the same feelings unless really something is bothering you, that your mind is so preoccupied with your problems that it doesn't matter where you are. Okay, so you could be in heaven and you feel like you're in hell, and you could be in hell and just wouldn't be any different, right? So where you are in life and what you're feeling has a lot to do with what you're surrounded with. And I hope that you can see how your ease and flow is stimulated through these experiences that you have in your surrounding areas. Now, these surrounding areas are practically divided into two different ways to look at it. One is a macro and one is a micro. So when we talk about the macro environment, we're talking about Mother Earth and everything that's natural, everything that nature provides for us. In the second example, when we were in the meadow, we were dealing mostly with the macro environment, right? Which is pretty much, how the surrounding nature is relating with us and how, again, we feel comfortable in this place. That means that all the ways that I perceived this meadow for you was very comfortable. The sun wasn't too hot and not too cold. The breeze was light. There's enough of beauty around you. So there were not too many reasons that you would have been uncomfortable. Imagine if you were wearing like bad shoes and then these shoes were bothering you, then that environment would not be as inducive to your enjoyment because something is bothering you and you need to be working with that also. So in order to have a good time, in order to have a joyous time, you are responsible to prepare yourself within the environment that you're going out to. And that is so important. And many of dear friends who come to see me in my practice, somehow they forget that they have responsibility for their environment. They give up about what's going on around them. They're not caring to be living in a clean place or a nice environment or take times out to go out in the nature. So in the macro, we have nature behind us and we can always go to it. However, as the human beings that we are, we're so careless that we add to the pollution, we add to the climate change, we add to a lot of disturbances that we bring to our Mother Earth by building so many buildings, by destroying the trees, so many different ways we're careless about that macro environment also, which I'm hoping that each one of us gives more consideration to this environment because this is something that brings us comfort. Now, as far as security is concerned, this macro environment should be secure only if we are making it secure, because we can be in the wilderness and we can get lost and we can be attacked by wild animals, but then how we go, with what vehicle we go, what kind of amenities we take for us, that creates more security even in the macro environment. So there is a balance between the adventurousness of us and the security measures that we take. And the stimulation, when you're in nature, the stimulation is really high because we really, if there is a nature that we're not used to, especially, we are stimulated with the way that the hike is, we're stimulated with the water that we're swimming in, we're stimulated with the conditions of any exercise that we do in this environment, or just a simple walk. So these three are relatively easier in the macro environment. But now let's go to the micro environment, which micro environment is anything from our bed, our desk, our closet, all the way into our offices, our homes, our town, our state, our country. So these are the micro environments that they also require our attention and management, because when we are not paying attention to this environment, a lot is happening. You see, in the traffic, if you're not paying attention, you can get hit by a car. So your safety is really important, your security is really important, or somebody can be picking your pockets, especially if you're in a very crowded place, and which a lot of tourists are there. So that is one responsibility that you have, not to be anxious and worried about the situation. However, understand that where you are, this requires a certain amount of vigilance, understanding of your location and your condition. And then let's say that we're talking about comfort. Well, in that environment, we can also have the comfort of having orange juice, for example, along the sidewalk, or have the comfort of wearing something very comfortable and strolling down and enjoying the sightseeing of this busy town. So still we can be comfortable in those circumstances as well. And stimulation, well, the stimulation is a little bit more even in certain ways, not necessarily in a positive way, because there are so many things happening, and those stimulations can make us more stressed. And that's kind of pretty much a big difference between living in a big city and living in the country or the suburbs. So the difference is how we manage this system to be more calmer or more joyful or more active in any way that we desire. For me, for example, I like both of them. It's not that I like country only and I don't like cities. Cities have different feelings to them, and then we have different cultures and different understandings or arts in these bigger cities, and then in nature we have something else. So balancing these two is really the goal of our environmental flow. We cannot just be one, because we are busy, we need to work, we need to be with families, and not necessarily we can always be in the nature without any of the necessities that we may have financially or culturally. So if we want to divide that kind of environment, we have four kinds. We have the natural environment, we have the artificial environment, which we're creating for ourselves, and then we have the social environment, which now, if you want to get it into the politics and the other issues, that also creates an environment. So if there's an environment that I sit with my friends and everybody is discussing this side of the aisle or the other side of the aisle, and they're disagreeing and they're going against each other, and there is a lot of hatred, so what's going to happen to me in this environment? Again, if I'm not caring really, or I really don't want to get involved with this politics, then I'll be feeling stress from these conversations. So that's a social environment where we are in, and again, we need to manage that in a way that we're not affected much. And the last one that is most important to me as a psychologist is the psychological environment. When you are at a home, in a marriage, in a family, in a relationship, that this relationship has a lot of issues or has a lot of ups and downs or problems in it, that environment is already contaminated with something. That something, maybe the house is immaculate and clean and there are no clutter or anything, yet still it's so cold and lifeless that you just feel horrible in that environment. Okay, or the other way around, you can be in an environment that's really busy, crowded, everybody is on top of each other, but you're having fun because there is a lot of good intention, good faith, good gestures are going around, and there is a lot of love. So the environment psychologically depends on how emotionally put ourselves into that situation and how this environment is psychologically affecting us. So this kind of a, excuse me for a second. This environment of a household that requires our interaction with then becomes a place of either happiness or a place of sadness. If it's in between, also it's okay, but then the stimulation is not there. So our home needs to be safe. Okay, we need to make sure that we live in an area that we are not intruded upon, we are not under any danger. And then it has to be comfortable, it has to have the amenities. It's not about the financial part of it, it's about how you can make yourself comfortable in the place you live. For example, the lighting of the place, or the aesthetics of something that is around you, how comfortable it makes it, or just the chair that you enjoy sitting on. All of these are creating more of flow in you. And then the stimulation becomes another big factor that regretfully sometimes we omit and we forget, and that is how this place is lively, how this place is giving me more energy to be in rather than making me feel down. So let's say if you buy flowers and you put flowers on your table, that would give you some stimulation. If you have a fish tank or just a fish bowl, and you have this stimulation around you, the movement of the fish around you, that is good enough because something is happening. The light, again, is really important. What kind of lighting is stimulating? All of these new kinds of lights that are in the market now with different colors and flavors that they come in, they have added a lot to our lives, to stimulate our lives to a better place. So you got to utilize them, and it's not about how much money you spend, it's about how tastefully you're managing your environment. I think if we look at this, as home and work, the places that we spend most of our time in, these are the two places that we spend a good maybe 18-20 hours of our time between work and home. Both of these places need to be respectfully taken care of. And if we can do that, if we can provide for ourselves a safe and fun and secure and comfortable place, that is when we are happier. That is when we can perform better. So many tests have been done in companies that the workplace has been made more comfortable for the employees versus the places that they are really hectic and nerve-wracking. The productivity of the workforce in those places is a lot higher, and we can see that they have less conflict and more possibility for growth. However, in those companies that these are not taken care of, we can see how these factors are reducing the productivity of this company. I really hope that you take this to heart, because this is one factor that can change your life by paying more attention to it. Care about where you are, where you live, how you live, in what conditions, what you bring into it, and enjoy that. At Willow Wellbeing, I don't know if you have ever seen the pictures of our center. From the get-go, maybe 14 years ago, we created the place based upon the tranquility and the components of all those three areas from day one. And interesting enough, before we even opened up the office, when my clients were coming into the waiting room and then they come to the session, they were all reporting that by sitting in the waiting room, already a lot of the stresses that they had and they were coming to discuss was alleviated and eliminated. So just being in an environment that is inducive to your calmness and happiness, let's say music, let's say the sound of the water, the fragrances of the herbs that are around you, all of these are helping you to go through it. At Willow Wellbeing, we have honestly cared about this from day one, and I'm proud to say that all of our clients have eventually learned how to live a balanced life where all of these feelings of comfort, security, and stimulation are paid attention to, and now they take it for themselves and apply it in their lives. If you're interested to learn more about environmental flow, in my book Balancing the Wheel, there is a whole chapter about the environmental aspects of our lives and our flow, and you're more than welcome to either listen to it at audiobooks.com or just on Amazon. You can read the book. I really recommend it, not because I wrote it, because there are so many different practices in there. Actually, there is an exercise called the mental closet, which it helps you to clear your mind just like your closet, and it's very interesting to take a look at it. Besides that, at Willow Wellbeing, we have a membership group which is called the Wheel Select. If you choose to take that membership, you can be receiving a lot of other information about your potential growth, happiness, health, and success. Me and Coach Bonnie are the founders of Willow Wellbeing, and we're more than glad to be personally involved with your challenges, with your growth, and you're more than welcome to connect with us through all these different media channels that we have, and on Instagram or Facebook under Dr. Daniel Sadiq and Coach Bonnie. Looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you if I have that pleasure. And if you have anything that I can be of support with, please do not hesitate. Have a blessed day and enjoy your environment. Get into it and make the best out of it. Yes, sometimes it's hard, but you can make it. Thank you for paying attention.